This is story time with Melvin, and before I get started on the next chapter, I gotta say that this is a supernatural horror story, so it's mature audiences only because of supernatural violence, extreme violence, and sexual tendencies. Now, that being said, the series is The Protectors of Earth, and the title is A Gateway in the Basement. So I'm going to read chapter 2 this evening. Balthazar, a master demon, lurks through Jacob's apartment, unlocks, opens, and then exits through the open doorway. Once outside, he begins to sniff, trying to tell which apartment has the most people inside. He figures the door right next to Jacob's is a place as any to start. So he uses his massive strength and bashes down the door with one hard punch with his right hand. The door itself gets knocked off its own hinges and falls with a clatter upon the carpet. He walks through the open doorway, gazing at an older couple watching television as they are pieces of meat. They don't notice him until he is standing next to the television. At first they sit in their seats, staring at him, not moving to run for their lives. Not until he unsheaths his sword do they decide to move, but only their facial expressions to fear. Balthazar takes his blade and launches it towards the older man. He quickly takes his wife's hand with his right, watching the sword quickly move through the air and into his stomach. "I love you, sweetie." Looking upon his wife, he mutters in his last breath, with a tear dropping down his left cheek. "I love you, too." She cries, knowing that she will be with her husband very soon. Balthazar takes his right hand and extends his fingernails to the size of knives. He jumps onto the woman's lap with a hideous smile. She closes her eyes, hoping it will be as painless as possible. He takes his right hand and slices through her skin and the tissue muscle. He stands up and yanks his sword out of the male's stomach. Both of their souls float up towards the ceiling and lingers. So knowing that there are more humans to kill, Balthazar moves on, lurking through the hallway, sensing that there are 3 more humans for him to viciously kill. The first door he goes through is the bedroom at the end of the hallway. Once inside, he sees a teenage boy sitting upon the carpet in front of the television set, playing a video game. At first, he stands there quietly and motionless, waiting for the boy to notice his presence. Once he gets his attention with a gigantic look of fear, he very quickly runs towards the boy who is too frightened to move. He takes one swing with his mighty sword, and the boy's body gets cut in half. His head and shoulders go flying towards one side of the room, while his torso, legs, and feet just fall over where they stand. Balthazar places his sword back into its sleeve, walks out of that bedroom and into the hallway. He senses the teenage boy's soul enter the living room and gets stuck into the ghostly plane, waiting for a Reaper to show up to take him to his afterlife, along with his parents. Knowing that he has 2 more people he must kill, he quietly enters the last bedroom, which is mostly darkness, besides a small lamp that is still on, right next to the bed. Once he realizes that the 2 people in this room are too busy moaning in ecstasy to notice he is amongst them. He sits down for a moment upon a chair that is sitting next to a white makeup desk. It's been a long time since he has been in the presence of lust, and he misses the sound, the smell, everything about that sin. But business is business, and he does what he must. So he unsheathes his sword once more and quickly and forcefully jams it into the girl's back as both of them hit their climax. Once the teenage girl bumps her head upon the side of the bed as she takes her last breath, the teenage boy screams out in horror as he gets soaked in her blood. "Please, mister, I don't want to die." The teenage boy cries, but that doesn't affect Balthazar none, as he knows that he needs each and every soul he can collect. So he yanks his sword out of the teenage girl's back. Without any hesitation, he swings it like an axe and chops off the teenage boy's head with one swipe. The boy's head lands upon the floor, then rolls slowly towards the door with his eyes still gazed with fright. So knowing that there isn't anybody else for him to kill, Balthazar places his sword back into its sheath. He looks back out into the living room so he can collect his 5 souls, which are still floating around the living room, waiting in the ghostly plane for their Reaper to take them to their afterlife. So once he is in the middle of the room, he stops in his tracks and starts meditating. All 5 souls of the people that he just viciously killed start to go quickly around in circles above his head. The longer he meditates, the faster the souls will fly around in circles, until finally they go into Balthazar's mouth and nose. Immediately he feels stronger and more refreshed. He finally walks back into Jacob's apartment and disappears into the living room's ventilation duct, exactly where he came in. As soon as he enters his very own personal hell, where he is king, he is quickly surrounded by his minions. "What shall we do with the 2 humans we kidnapped?" one of his minions announces, as he points over towards Jacob's mother and Brittany's father, who are tied to the flesh-endorsed wall by human intestines. "Leave them be for the time being." Balthazar walks through the crowd of his own minions, past his throne, and opens a closet that is right behind his throne. Immediately afterwards, he grabs the crystal orb, which is in the middle of a very small closet. As he pulls the orb outside, he spits all 5 souls, one at a time, into the orb. The orb itself begins to glow as it knows that it is full for the time being. It actually begins to sigh as it feels better or something, like a human being would do after a big meal. "What are you going to do?" Miss Whitmore struggles to get free from her bind, but the human intestines are bound across her ankles and wrists way too tight to her to get loose. "I'm not going to do anything to neither of you yet, but I will show you what will happen to you later if the field ages of the protectors of Earth give me any trouble." He closes the closet and looks upon Miss Whitmore and Mr. White with frustration. "Wait a second. I have heard the protectors of Earth, but that was a very long time ago." She closes her eyes deep in thought. "You should. Your ex-husband used to be an agent for them." "So that was the big secret he couldn't tell me. How the hell do you know about it?" Tears begin to drip down both her cheeks. "Let's just say I hear things. Even demons like to talk." He grabs a sharp pair of scissors off of a small table to the left of his throne. Then he walks over towards Mr. White. "Excuse me, Master. What is your next move? Legion demands to know that you are doing what you are told." "You tell Legion that I need more souls because I'm not powerful enough to go against the protectors of Earth yet. But for now, I've got humans to kill. So if you don't mind," he turns back around and quickly snips off Mr. White's left index finger. He automatically wakes up screaming in pain. Then, once his eyes adjust to the light, he begins fearing about what he might be, where he might be. "What's going on?" "You will know soon enough. I just needed you to be awake so you can get a glimpse into your future." 2 glass-feed demons walk out of the darkness. They are carrying a live white male who looks like he is 25 years old. They place him down kneeling upon the moist floor. "Just kill me already," the guy cries. Obviously Balthazar tortured this guy for his own amusement. "Now what would be the fun in that? I have something better in mind for all 3 of you." He looks upon Miss Whitmore and Mr. White. "Throw him in." "Yes, Master," both of them say in unison. So they pick the guy up onto his feet, grabbing onto both his shoulders. They walk him in towards a boiling pool of blood. "What are you doing?" The prisoner has no idea why Balthazar wants to throw him in, besides the fact that he will be roasted alive. Both of the Class B demons pitch him in. As soon as he lands in the pool, his skin begins to bubble and melt. He screams in terrorizing agony as he flails his arms back and forth for his final moments. Then his body sinks to the bottom of the pool. For a couple minutes, Miss Whitmore and Mr. White wonder when his corpse is going to resurface. When he finally does, he becomes a mindless and very strong zombie. His only allegiance is to Balthazar and his appetite, and hunger for human flesh is unshakable. Now you 2 know what I plan to do with you in the near future. You and every other human being I catch. All of you are going into the pool and become my slaves, while I get to devour your souls. He laughs hysterically. There is only one group that stands in his way, the protectors of Earth and the very talented field agents. Now remember everybody, this is just a horror story, but I did create it. So likes, comments, subscribers, anything will help me continue, because my whole life's been about this story. Well, thank you for listening. Till next time.